So we have a question. What are the current HIPAA violation amounts for the fines, Donna?
So everybody always talks about 1.5 million, 1.5 million, that just doesn't happen. Number one. And number two, it's not even that anymore.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. So in the law, the original law still says that I think the minimum was like $100 for the lack of knowledge, and then the max could be up to 1.5 million. And there's all this argument about how they can use this enforcement tool, because after a couple of different lawsuits, they have been held back from actually using the big amounts. So I know part of their discussion in their long-term plan is to ask Congress for some clarification and specifics, allowing them to stronger enforcement capability. But that doesn't mean that what's in the law and all these civil money penalties have an inflation adjustment that happens every year. In
Mhm.
January, they evaluate where it is, what those numbers are based on, and then they can add more to it. Well, that's been going on every year. People don't realize. So in January, sometimes it takes to February, depending on what's going on. But as of January 2024, the new level, and of course, the fines are based on culpability.
Mhm.
So if they think you didn't know, but you should have known, and you violated HIPAA and you did it because you didn't know something that you should have known, the minimum penalty is $137 per violation, with a maximum of 34,464, which is hard to remember. So we just kind of go with that. We just let that be.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't you say, now I don't even know if this is accurate, but I would imagine that saying I didn't know doesn't float much anymore?
That's the affirmative defense. I failed, but I didn't know. And you could do that under the original HIPAA,
Mhm.
but high tech, they got rid of. They're
Gotcha.
like, no, you can't. Just the affirmative defense is no longer an acceptable one, beginning under high tech. So that went away, and I don't know if you know this, but some people think that HIPAA is still the same. Since it was in 2001, 2, 3.
It depends on how you spell it.
Yeah, there is that. So the lack of knowledge, there is, you had a violation because you didn't know something you were required to know. I just like for people to understand that you are required to know these things. So just be certain, another reason to come to the boot camp, so
Mhm.
that you will at least heard the things that you're supposed to be doing.
But Donna, if I don't know, I can get a lesser fine.
Actually, no. You're worse off saying, "We didn't know that."
Yeah.
I promise
Well, I like to tell people ignorance may be bliss, but it is also expensive.
you. Yes, true that. And you can choose to learn it or not. It's not a difference between incapable of learning. This stuff is it's complicated, and there's legal and technical and all this. But the bottom line is you can narrow it down to layman's terms in a lot of it. So that's tier one. Tier two is reasonable cause. And that's, you know, you knew better, you knew you were supposed to do it, and then you still didn't do it, and it was pretty bad. So that one is the minimum is 1379 per violation, with a max of 68,928 per violation. So again, not easy to remember. Oh, and this one has an annual penalty cap of 137,886. Then we get to where it gets harsher. More harsh. Tier 3 is where it's willful neglect. So you knew you were supposed to do it. You didn't do it. You knew you were violating your obligation to comply. But once things went awry, you then, within 30 days, made a bunch of changes to right the ship, and now you're going along the right way. So you did it, but you're trying to fix it, and you're never going to do that again. Wink, wink. I always tried that one. I'll never do that again with my fingers crossed, right?
I think the last time
So
I
you,
said that was back in college at a fraternity party.
yeah, there goes. We'll tell that story later, because I want to hear it. But willful neglect is corrected is you took serious action within 30 days of this violation occurring. So not like you kind of put it off or anything. That a violation, they can technically have civil money penalties beginning at $13,785 to a maximum of $68,928 per violation, with an annual cap of $344,638. So the most that they would be allowed to cap you for the year is $344,638. Still not a dollar amount I want to do. Then you get to the serious category. This is willful neglect not corrected within 30 days. They have the option that the minute they realize that this is where you're going to land, because it's some cases they can just say, look, they're clearly not doing it, have no intent of doing it, and whatever. They can skip right to willful neglect. They don't even have to finish. They don't have to negotiate. They don't have to do anything. So it allows them to jump right to, all right, here's what you're going to pay us, because we already know. And that's willful neglect not corrected within 30 days. Of course, they get a little bit more serious there because the minimum penalty is $50,000 if you're found to be in willful neglect. No matter how small the violation, it must be at least $50,000 according to the law. It must meet the minimum of tier 4. But today, that $50,000 with its annual adjustment is up to $68,928 per violation, with that annual cap that used to be $1.5 million that everybody spouts off would now be $2 million, a little over $2 million.
Yep. Which this is the first year that it's reached over 2 million, because last year was 1.9 something.
Yes. So it's the latest adjustments. And also, they reiterate that the state's attorney general, they can do it with maximum 25,000 per category per year. So again, theirs are different but the same. And if you want to go check our work because you don't believe us, you can go read the Federal Register and we'll have a link to it. So there you go. That's how much it could be if they go to the civil money penalty phase. They rarely do that because they negotiate settlements, which is what we usually cover when they announce these things. Although there are a few, there are not a lot. Well, first of all, there's not a ton of, I think we're maybe at 100 different cases settled over how many years since HIPAA's been around?
Yeah, yeah. And this is not even discussing the jail time that can be served.
Oh yeah. Now
Certain
that's
things.
that's if it gets sent as an individual that is going to Department of Justice.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole different thing. So you can have both. But Yeah, 10 years in prison, $250,000 fine.
Hmm.
Go ahead.
Yep. So there you go. Now the reason I like to remember this number, don't really care about all the bottom numbers. I like the top number because typically if you're running into sales and marketing fluff or people trying to sell you something, they'll often throw out the, oh, you better do this or you could face fines of up to 1.5 million. If they're still saying that, to me, I'm starting to question, well, how much do you really know about HIPAA? Because you're still using a number that hasn't been the same in years. So,
Mm. Well, and I don't see if that was going to motivate people, we wouldn't be where we are today.
no, it doesn't. It
The-
absolutely doesn't.
I can assure you that that did not move the needle one iota
Mm-mm.
when it first came out. It didn't move it at all. Now, actual cyber attacks, actual, cases and costs and downtime and patient deaths, now we're getting attention. But it's something that everybody always told me that threat of that fine is not going to do anything until it happens to me or somebody I know.
Yep. And you're absolutely right because the chances of it happening is very slim. I tell people all
Mhm.
the time is, probably more likely to get hit by lightning, than to have something like that happen, especially an audit. I love the people that are like, yeah, we make sure that our people never fail an audit.
Oh, yeah.
Don't even get me started on that.
Yeah, we've been through that a few thousand times.